All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Great Black North. I am your favorite author, Robert Mulolo.
I am Devin M.D. Jones.
I am Simon Martin.
AKA Radio Voice.
We have a
I don't even know
special
what that means. I don't even know what that means. But we have a special guest today. Dun, 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 dun. Our amazing director, Alicia Harris. Woo.
Lovely introduction. Thank you. Yes, I'm Alicia. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a feminist. And those are like my two main things. So, yeah.
Amongst many other things.
Yes.
Right.
And she's a twin, but don't hold her against her after you hear what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
All righty, let's top it off. We don't really have like an official title of today.
Well, we're keeping up with the Kardashians.
I'd say keep out the Canadian Kardashians.
We're keeping up with the Kardashians today.
Giving Canadian Kardashians back to Nigeria? What?
Yo, bring them back. Bring back their girls. Bring back the girls.
No, too soon. Too soon, man.
Soon? I'm just saying, bring back the girls. I want that.
That was a hashtag too soon. Oh.
I got a picture of like Michelle Obama in my mind with bring back our girls all over that. And Robert, nah.
No, that's the hashtag right there, though.
All right, so we are talking about representation. Well, I don't even know if it's representation, but it's just like what the media decides to cover, why, and what does it mean? Does that sound about right?
I think it's kind of like how we look.
Yeah.
I didn't want us to look, really.
But it, like, because of what we're talking about, it's not really us per se, but you know what I mean? That's why I say that.
Right.
Okay, let's just get into it. Let's get to the point. Okay, so I'm tired, very tired of reading articles about the Matthews sisters. I hope I'm saying their last names right still, even though they're not my favorite people. Jyoti and what's the other one's name? Kiran are, they call themselves the Toronto Kardashians. What a great thing to aspire to. So quick backstory, these two ladies were in Nigeria scamming their world leaders and decided to, and then they got caught. Once they got caught, they pleaded to the Canadian government, and the Canadian government came on the sly and saved them and brought them back to Canada. And ever since then, they've been doing a PR tour and getting all sorts of media. And according to Robert, they're probably going to have a reality show soon.
Oh, I can see it happening. I can see it happening in the next year or two. Yeah, you'll see them on Toronto TVs and stuff like that. And if
what's the last name again?
Watch.
Matthew?
Macaroon?
Matthew. Matharoo.
It reminds me of an Andre 3000 lyric. Macaroni, N-words, imposters, and these girls are trying to be imposters of the Kardashian sisters too. So it's like, I can't stand these people already.
They can't even be original.
Right. like you're being imposters of people that are already fake. so like
True. That's very true.
Oh my gosh. So the problem for me is, so there's two things that stood out to me are, one, the fact that the people that they're scamming are Nigerians, and Nigerians have been portrayed over and over. Jokes have been made about how Nigerians are scammers because of those emails. And I was like, I feel like it's the same one person in Nigeria that sent all those emails, but the whole of Nigeria has been classified as scammers because of this. And it's funny that they were scamming Nigeria and we decided to save them. We, meaning Canada, not me personally. Trust me, I would have left them there. And number two, the fact that the media is covering this so hardcore and making them look like victims. As like, so if you're pretty and female I was like, female and pretty, then you can play the victim role as soon as you get caught. Thoughts?
To be honest, again, you know what? Just like you said, like, you know, they were scamming Nigerians in Nigeria. The funniest thing to me when I first heard the story, I thought it was Nigerians in Canada that had scammed somebody, like the way the story came out, you know what I mean? Because all the stereotypes that came up. And then you hear, yeah, Canadian girls scam Nigerians in Nigeria. I was like, well, that's interesting. That's quite interesting. But the one thing that really shocks me the most is that the Canadian government, out of all the things that they could be doing in the world, decided that, you know what, we need to save these girls, although they are criminals in this country. Meanwhile, and the reason why they did it, and according to Canada's immigration department, I don't know what Canada's immigration is actually dealing with Nigerian stuff, but anyways, they say that the sisters got assistance after physical safety was deemed at risk.
Somebody else say something, please.
All right, so what is the policy of Canadians towards Nigerians scamming Canadians?
Deportation.
Good mug question.
Because, I mean, from what I heard, like, you know, if they catch these people and they find out who's scamming these Canadians, they kind of have, you know, some ways with them, right? They're not going to treat them like, oh, you know, good job, good on you guys, right? So, like, if your policies are towards, you know, negative towards scam artists, why are you protecting these people?
And why do they need protection when, I mean, I don't know the full story, but did they not go there by their own choosing with their own plan to scam people? Why are we rescuing them? That would be my question to begin with. Like, I don't know. I mean, yeah.
And then, okay, so on top of that, why is this news?
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's just kind of like, the thing that makes it news to me is to remind me as a Black woman that this world is not fair. It's not created equal, right? Like that's what happened. That's what I see when I see stuff like this. It reminds me of privileges.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think exactly what you were saying about the fact that one scandal with that like Nigerian prince tainted an entire population's view of Nigerian people. Like, why was that so easy for that one story to do that? And it's because like it always comes down to minority voices. One thing happens and then it speaks for all people in that group. And yeah, it is true. When this story, you know, when you first mentioned it was easy to assume like, oh, well, what did the Nigerians do wrong? Like, because I don't know. It is true. It's just like a flaunting of their privilege, the fact that they were able on their own accord to go over there to be scamming people, and then their government came and rescued them, and now they're back here touring, talking about how they're the Toronto Kardashians. Like, this is just publicity for them, free publicity that they're getting.
Very much.
Yeah.
Free, and it's not free. They're charging for these interviews. So they're actually making money off of this stuff. So guess what? They're still scamming. like it's just so insane to me.
But like, okay, from the pictures that I've seen of these girls, wouldn't it have been easier to just create like an Instagram account and just, you know, take pictures, take enough selfies of themselves instead of flying all the way to Nigeria, trying to create a scam, and then come back and doing all this nonsense? Because these girls are probably going to catch the same amount of publicity anyways from just doing what they're doing. Not that I find these girls attractive, because I've seen the pictures of them without makeup, but it's like,
wow.
Isn't there an easier way?
Simon.
Right.
apparently, no, but okay, like I'm gonna just say it because I'm always the person that states the obvious that nobody wants to talk about. But literally, all of us know, what were they doing in Nigeria? They were prostituting themselves.
Oh yeah, I thought that was just implied.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Like, it's not even mentioned.
No, it's not. No, you know what? They're
It's
defending
not.
that though. I read a couple articles and they defending that, saying, no, we didn't prostitute ourselves. No, we did not scam anybody. Like, they are basically, like, they're trying to save their reputation, they said.
Okay, so what were these men giving you money for? That's what I want to know.
Now, from what I've been told, like, I mean, there's many accounts that have been provided. But from what I've been told, at times they were prostituting themselves, at times they weren't. At times they would just go and tell these men, we're going to tell your wives that you slept with us, or they're going to show videos that, yeah, you did this and that, unless you give us this amount of money.
So that was the scam. That was how they were extorting money
exactly
from these leaders.
You know, that's kind of really, really detrimental. Like, I mean, you got to, I'm not thinking about like how bad the effect is on like the individual. I'm thinking about the fact that because they look a certain way and because, you know, their skin is lighter than probably the average Nigerian person, they're automatically going to be believed in the fact that they walk up to somebody and say, hey, like, I slept with your husband. Like, it's the fact that, like, they're so quote unquote desired that it creates this whole thing that they can do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, in truth, Devin, if your boyfriend had some woman walk up to him and, like, you know, she's a Becky from down the block, she's sitting there and she comes up to you and says, I slept with your man. You're just gonna sit there and be like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna work. But the fact that they could go and they could do this and to multiple people, like,
and I was like, they made a lifestyle of it. Like, I was just like, I want to know what that conversation looked like. Like, Alicia, can you imagine you and your sister being like, we gonna go to Nigeria? Well, we gonna work this twin thing.
But even just the fact that their scam took place in a different country, like, okay, so they had the means to fly themselves to Nigeria, to set themselves up somewhere. You know, guess what? We wouldn't have been able to afford to do that type of scam, okay?
I bet you they did. I bet you they got some plane tickets sent to them.
Yeah, some plane tickets were sent to them, for sure.
Yeah, because the men they were choosing were, like, high up officials. Like, these are like high up officials of, like, Nigerian government. I'm like, dude, like, that's dangerous.
See, I think y'all are thinking about this a little bit wrong. I think they were chasing after that chocolate stick and a lot of it. And so
like they
basically,
get that in Toronto, like, on the corner. Like,
maybe they found that this was probably where they could get vast quantities of it, and so they decided that they wanted to go and you know, put themselves in a situation where they got a lot, you know.
Well, my opinion is that it's easier to steal from black money than it is to steal from white money.
Oh yeah, that's always easy to steal
That's
from
what
black people than it is to steal from anyone else. Because no one's gonna care. It's like, she stole from me.
Yeah, and look what happened. They came back, and there isn't a mugshot of them in the Toronto Star. There's a glamour shot of them with their beautifully planned outfits that you know, they had a specific photographer. The person that wrote the story took this photo of them. It's not like she's taking a story and painting them as like these criminals that went to a different country and scammed people and came back, because clearly, yeah, who were the victims of the crime? Nigerians. So why should this, I don't know, Canadian reporter care, I guess, that other people were scammed? It seems that she more just cared about buying into this whole, they're the Kardashians, so I'm going to cover them because this is going to be like an interesting, I don't know, story. But yeah, it doesn't really paint them as criminals, and it doesn't seem like anyone's really looking at them as criminals.
No. They have, like, this, and when we talk about, you know how, like, some people will be like, oh, it's all over the place, but it's in, like, blogs. No, it's on CBC. It's in the Star. Like, these are like our main sources of information in Canada. And it's like in their like 4-page spread of this article where there's all these pictures. Alicia also pointed out the fact that of her getting her weave done, right? Like her sitting there getting her weave done. You could see her braid that they're going to sew the track into. And please note that not only Black women wear weave. Just saying.
Yeah.
That had to be put out there.
But I'm just saying. But it also just shows their privilege. Like, she's sitting there texting and getting her weave done, but she's talking about this scam that she ran in another country. Like, it's just like privilege. Like, privilege is like, it's just like, it's disgusting. Like, it's,
you know what's great? Disgusting. The greatest, it's not even like alleged. It's not even like, you know, they may have been running a scam. No, it was like they got caught, and it's like
they're like, let's make some more money because of it.
Let's bring them back.
Yeah, like they're making more money because of it, because they did this scam. I was like, yo, what scam can I run that I can get famous off of and make extra more money about? Like,
if we went to like somewhere like Germany or like England and tried to run a scam, you think the Canadian government would try to be bringing us back here? Right?
Okay.
Like Robert, you and I, let's go over to Norway and start doing a scam like that and see if they're gonna come and bring us back.
Hey.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just have to point this out. I'm just reading the Star article, and this is like an actual quote. So I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Whatever, gets 76-centimeter extensions sewn into her hair by Zelika Alexandru, who gives her free services in exchange for social media exposure. So now she's getting free weave too, like literally. Like,
I can't.
You know,
it's just like the whole like. It's just the whole like, if a Black woman, like Alicia, you said this earlier, if a Black woman was getting a weave, then they would be calling it ghetto. Then she would be ghetto. Nobody's ever called these girls ghetto. Nobody's ever said anything like, they've never called them what they're working girls. They're like, I was like, for a nice word, they're working girls. They use their body to make money, right? And it's just like, nobody's ever said any of this. But if this was even if it was like a darker skinned brown girl, right? Like if they were a little bit darker, I bet you money that this would be a problem.
I bet you actually it wouldn't have been talked about. That's the thing to me.
True.
Like,
because
it's like, we ain't even gonna make an issue of this because we don't care. It's like, honestly,
dude, you know what would they wouldn't even be in Canada, so we would never have heard of it. They would have left their asses out there.
Right. Like how I feel about this is, like, the Canadian government feels like, hey, you know, they were doing them Black people a favor by giving them a piece of some nice booty for them to have, and you know, let's bring them back now because we want them back.
Another question is, could darker skinned women have gotten away with it?
No.
That's what that's what I'm saying too. I don't think the scam would have worked.
Even started the scam, like, would anybody have, like, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier, in terms of like the whole skin tone aspect of like who can get away with what, and like who knows how to use what they have.
Oh no, definitely not. I mean, shoot, I know a girl whose husband was running a scam here in Canada. He was Nigerian, and he deported him, and he's not allowed to actually travel. He's on a no-fly zone list or something.
I totally forgot. The one line in one of the articles was like, they asked the girls, "Are you planning on returning to Nigeria?"
Yeah. And they're like, they have no plans to return for another scandal. It's like, what?
For another scandal?
Well,
like,
good for them. Like, we should be
scandal.
congratulating them. It literally says, another Nigerian scandal isn't in the cards. The sisters say they have no plans to ever return. Should we be applauding them? Like, I can't even. Yeah.
Dude, you have a place on your head.
Yeah, and it's like, on your head. I don't know.
Are you gonna do this again? It's like
it's just all of it is just dumb.
See, what that gets to me is that we condone this, because it's like, are you going to sit there and do this again? Like, the question is, it's not like if you sit there and you ask like somebody that's, you know, gone to jail for like murder, and sit there and be like, hey, are you going to do this again? Like, that's not where it's at. It's like,
Well, the fact that they're even in the position where they could be asked that question by somebody, I mean, the fact that they're free to, you know, they have the opportunity to do it again. So you're right. Like, if it was a dark-skinned woman, would she have been retrieved by the Canadian government? Who knows? You know, and if she had been, would she be here being interviewed and like posing for shots of her, you know, getting her weave done? I highly doubt it. You know,
but it goes with that same mentality. Like, think about it. The Kardashians became famous for Kim Kardashian releasing a sex tape.
No, her mother releasing a sex tape.
Oh, true. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, just saying.
I stand corrected.
I
stand corrected. I accepted. I was wrong. But it scares me. Does it not like terrify you about what's happening in our society? Like, it's not really new per se.
There's always been that saying, any publicity is good publicity. And
well, if you're a certain
and
not for everybody.
Well, I mean, those lines don't apply to us anyways, right? So like,
George Zimmerman is popular now, isn't he?
Right.
I mean, the man can go out.
Anything he does, I hear about it.
Yeah, I heard a couple of months ago how he was like boasting about, I'm the guy that shot Trayvon Martin. It was like, wow, like, for real.
Sold the bus on eBay for $5,000.
What was he selling on eBay?
No, it was more than $5,000.
He sold a gun that shot Trayvon. It was more than 5,000.
Yeah, it was way more than 5,000. I thought it was sold for probably about $250,000 or something like that. I could be wrong, but
I can't.
But yeah, but you know, he's out there, just like he's out there. Then also, like, I mean, the most famous one. I mean, the king of
OJ.
No.
You say OJ.
Nah.
Wait.
Let's
talk about OJ. Let's talk about OJ, though, right?
Compared to
yes, let's talk about OJ, right? OJ, he was famous before all of that happened, right? And the thing is, OJ's never, even though OJ was acquitted, OJ has always still been seen as guilty.
Right. And the whole thing about it is, like, people seem to forget that he wasn't acquitted because he did it or didn't do it or whatever. He was acquitted because they tried to make sure that he went to jail by planting false evidence. Like, that's the point. It's like the police corroborated to make sure that he went to jail. Right? There was a whole thing, which actually kind of links back to the Kardashians in some way, shape, or form as well. But it basically, because
police father.
Yeah, something like that. So
police father, isn't it?
Right.
Supposedly.
That big girl, yeah.
That's why she's darker and thicker than the rest, they say.
That's her daddy. That's all I can say.
Whatever. So basically,
what? Did you not hear this before?
Yeah, but like,
no, but that's literally like, they think OJ's her dad because she's not as small. And
yeah,
that's the reason why. Right.
Who cares? I mean, like, that doesn't make me like the Kardashians more or less. You know what I mean? Like,
but that being said, like, yeah, OJ has been, like, the man tried to make a book. I understand. Like, I'm not an advocate for OJ, but I understand some of the things that were happening to him. Like, I really think about it. If I owned like a restaurant, even like a McDonald's, I'm not going to have OJ work there. right? Even after he was acquitted and before he went to jail, right? Like, no, because
He
someone's
did
gonna
do
come
it,
in and
though.
someone's gonna come
I
in
was gonna
and be
say
like,
that.
yo, I'd like to order a meal, and it'll be like, yo, no, that guy's working here. You have that murder, even if he was in the back just doing the fries. It would be like somebody walking around doing rounds would be like, yo, that guy works here. Nah, I'm not coming back here. Like,
But why? Okay, here's the thing though. Why are you guys so sure that he did?
that he did it?
Yeah.
I'm not.
No, these two just said that. That's why I'm asking you.
Because who else did it? Like,
But
I
the thing
don't.
is, they never tried to find anybody else.
Listen,
I don't
my thing
know.
is,
They
Have
you
you
wait-
seen OJ Made in America?
Really?
my
I haven't.
my thing is this: if you go, why in the hell are you writing a book called "If I Had Done It"?
I have a very good reason for that.
Please explain it to me.
Okay, like it goes back to what I'm saying. Understand that after the court case, there was a civil case where basically he had to pay out like a ton of money to the family, right? Basically, all the money, a lot of the money that he had, he lost it. You have bills, expenses, child support, all sorts of stuff that you got to basically deal
Lawyers'
with.
fees.
Right, that you have to deal with in order to actually live. And you don't have any money coming in because no one's hiring you. There's actually a tape of him on YouTube before all the other stuff started coming up about him saying, I have no money. I can't make any money. So somebody gives him an offer and says, write a book. If you had done it, how you would have done it. And I'm going to give you money for this.
Yeah.
So
I'm
somebody-
sorry, Robert. I'm taking that deal if I don't have any money.
Time out. Somebody actually came up to him with that idea.
Yes.
Of course.
People don't
First of all, he
understand
didn't even
this.
write that book.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They
he
walked
didn't.
up to him and said, hey, write a book about if you had done it. Then there's all this publicity. And then they basically said, those same people that said, write the book, came back and said, whoa, you're a horrible person for writing this book.
I'm not a fan of
Come on,
OJ, even despite the fact that I mean, I still do think he is a murderer. But even from the beginning, like when he was getting into football, he wasn't, when he was like asked about, Black athlete activists taking a stand at the Olympics, he was like, I'm not here to cause any trouble. Like he's like the #1 assimilator of all time. He didn't want to be affiliated with the Black community. So I mean, okay, maybe he's not a murderer, but I mean, I do feel sympathetic for him. Like maybe he was kind of forced to, go along with everything that was going on because he wanted to play, but I don't know. I don't feel bad for OJ.
It's hard to say. It's hard because it was a different time. It was like Tiger did the same thing, right? Then he got caught and then all of a sudden he was Black.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Well, I mean, that's the part that frustrates me is like, yeah, they did like literally I'm watching, I recommend watching OJ Made in America, but it's the racist white people that were like, they showed the social context basically of what was going on in all the racism, and the people that they interview are like, yeah, it was just all about football. All we cared about was like, that was all that was going on at the time, but it was like obviously not, but to them that was all that was going on at the time. And yes, they were cheering for OJ because they didn't notice that he was Black because he was so good and they wanted to
they're colorblind.
And yeah, exactly. And yeah, it is unfortunate that the only time that they wanted to cheer for a Black kid was in a stadium. Of course, that's frustrating to me. And I sympathize with the fact that OJ was probably just trying to like, he just wanted to play football and he obviously didn't want to be seen as a Black football player because obviously that was negative. But I still think he did it. Maybe it's because I've just, now I'm like questioning it. Maybe they sold it to me that he did it, but I don't know.
The media sold it to you.
Because I mean, it's not like I can reference anything other than things that I've read and watched and learned about the case. So from the media. So yeah, I mean, now I am kind of questioning it, but I don't know.
So there was this movie, Black Dynamite, and then they made a cartoon show of it. And they had this one episode where they were talking about OJ. And it was back in like the time where OJ was actually like a football player. And they were talking about how white people loved OJ Simpson. Like they loved it. And like they had like, I think it was Harry Kissinger talk about how he is the most like loved black man, is like basically he's pretty much white, and this, and like they were doing all these jokes around it, but it had like you know, a truth behind it. But it also kind of reminds me of a comic book I was reading a while ago, where the new Spider-Man, Miles Morales, he's half black, half Spanish, Latino, and basically somebody had seen like a cut on his suit, and they're like, oh my gosh, Spider-Man is black, or Spider-Man is brown, or blah 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 blah. And like the character himself, he was upset because he's like, I don't want to be qualified as the black Spider-Man. I want to be Spider-Man, not qualified under the black this or the black that. And so sometimes I can kind of understand the whole idea of not being qualified as the black football player or the black this or the black that, just being who you are and what you are. So
I get that.
I can't wait till we reach that day.
I know, right? One day. But last night I watched the first 3 episodes of American Gods. Honestly, do not watch anything else but that. Like, honestly, like I had no idea what it was about going in, and I was like, this is amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. Like, I'm just kind of like, you guys are serious? And it's probably the blackest show around. And I had no idea, right? Like, I was just kind of like, what? So at the beginning of episode 2, there is Orlando Bloom. Is that his name? He was in Drumline.
Yeah.
No, not Bloom. Orlando.
I know who you're talking about.
Jones?
Yes.
Jones. Okay. Orlando Jones.
Drumline guy?
Yeah.
That's what
Okay. So Orlando Jones, the episode starts on a slave ship. It goes back in time and it starts in a slave ship. And it shows them how they were lined up, how they were stacked upon each other. And there's this one guy who kind of goes, he's like delirious to a certain point, it feels like to him. But Orlando shows up and he starts this speech, and he's just like, let me just tell you something. Like, he's giving them the lesson before they get to Africa, before they come from Africa to get to America. And he's like, let me tell you something. You're going to find out today, as soon as you land, you're going to find out that you're black. You didn't think you were black. You never thought about it before. You thought you were just human. But when you get to America, you're black. And I'm not going to tell you the whole speech. Like, you have to watch it, because I was just like mesmerized, like, holy crap, these guys are like pushing limits. Like, the whole series already. It's 3 episodes in, and I've already been like, I can't believe people aren't talking more about this.
Of course. See, they don't talk about the things that, like, you know, can actually have an impact. Like, honestly, they sit there and they get mad about like things like Luke Cage or 13th or like all these different Dear White People, all these things that basically kind of like the whole thing about it is they want black people to just assimilate. Like, I was thinking about this just yesterday, like,
but assimilate to whiteness.
Right, and that's what I mean.
Not
like,
to Americanness.
Right. Because like you can sit there and you can have a show like, and here's where we're coming back to like Canadian content. You can have a show like Kim's Convenience. You can have a show like Little Mosque on the Prairie or whatever. But I mean, I remember when they did the kink in my hair, right? Right, like, like it all slides under the table. Like you don't celebrate people being black. It's like, why can't you be more like us?
Now, you know what? It like that particular train of thought actually goes back to the COINTELPRO days when like J. Edgar Hoover was basically looking to just stand for the voice of any powerful leader in the black community, like from Martin Luther King to even Fred Hampton, because anything that's positive to blackness is detrimental to white supremacy. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, when you have shows like Luke Cage, when you have shows like Dear White People, you know what I mean? Like positive, like, you know, like shows that basically makes you want to be like, makes you proud to be black, like it becomes a problem because and that's a quote I heard, being black and proud is an act of revolution.
Well, yeah, and too many white people assume that if you're pro-black, you're anti-white, which, again, like, obviously in the system of a hierarchy where someone is above, like, yeah, you are going to have to be coming, like, down, like, the oppressors, it only feels like we're oppressing them because they've always been in the highest position of power. So, yeah, it's like, it's frustrating to me that I know for a fact that Canadian media obviously is dominated by old white men in these positions of power, and they have been in those positions for a really long time. And unless we start, I don't know, championing marginalized voices in these huge networks like the CBC, I mean, I can't really even think of another Canadian. What else do we have? Until CBC starts like championing the diversity that actually is Canada, and like, let's not pretend that there aren't diverse content creators out there that would be doing an amazing job, as showrunners or whatever. But it's like, there's no investment in that. It's like, okay, we'll hire some people and that's good enough, or we'll make Kim's Convenience and that's good enough. And it's like, no, you can't just have one show every few years that has a diverse cast. Like, that is not good enough. Stop, we can't be championing ourselves as like the diverse country if our media isn't reflecting that, and we're not taking active steps to have it reflect that. And yeah, I mean, good on, is it CBC for having Kim's Convenience, but like, that's not enough. And even like the shows that you're referencing, like Dear White People, and I haven't seen American Gods, but they are still very much about like the issues that Black people are facing, I would say, or like the context with American Gods, like historical context. And I think those shows are important, but I also think it's important if we can just be showing Black people living everyday lives. So it's not just like when we see Black people on TV, they're addressing the issues that we've always been dealing with. And I do think that those shows are very important, but I would love to turn on a TV and see on a Canadian channel, a Black family just being normal and being Canadian, and, seeing the nuance of a Black Canadian experience, as opposed to, the shows that are getting funnier, that are being talked about the most, are specifically about, I don't know, like,
yeah, I get what you're saying. They're about our issues, not just about us being people. Which is why, to me, Luke Cage was so fantastic, because as much as it was about a superhero and it's not really about like necessarily reality and so on, it was about something else other than a Black struggle. It was about a guy who happened to be Black, who was living in a Black neighborhood, who had superpowers. That's really what it was about.
And I think if this whole time we had shows that were representing, Black people as actual human beings and not stereotypes, would we need a Dear White People? Like, would we need the types of shows that are basically going back and I would say making up for and calling out the lack of, diverse content? Like, would we need those shows if this whole time if there had been an equal playing field? Yeah.
Seen as human.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so we had those shows. I grew up with those shows. Family Matters, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Cosby Show, A Different World. like
that's true.
Martin is, I could never get behind Martin.
You know what the whole thing about that is, though? See, what I get behind that, I get behind those shows too. And more so, like, okay, right? Sorry that it has to be the Cosby Show, but what I find, though, is either you are a clown or you're like some type of or we're dealing with issues, because we can laugh you can laugh all you want at these people, but there's no shows except for something. I guess I only got into like 2 or 3 episodes of Queen Sugar.
Show? Sorry?
Queen Sugar.
Oh, okay.
Great show.
Like, huh?
Great show.
Yeah. But like, that show kind of sees Black people as people, right? It's not about like, it always comes back to this Bernie Mac quote from like Ocean's 11. Can I shine your shoes? You know, like we have to either be clowns, we have to be like athletes, we have to be something extraordinary to actually be even seen, right?
But that's where, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like
Kind of sounds like real life.
Yeah, like what shaped me as like a grown Black woman and like helped to inspire me was A Different World, was Living Single, like shows like that. And the thing is, Living Single, you couldn't really get it. It was on the WB, so you could only get that in the US, so you couldn't really get that in Canada. I just went to University of Windsor, so we were on the border, so we got that. But the majority of Black people in Canada didn't get to see Living Single on a regular basis.
We watched it.
Really?
We watched it, yeah. It was
Sorry, in Winnipeg.
Nights.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. In
York Undercover was after
Ontario. Let's say in non-Ontario, because we didn't have those shows. We didn't get that channel that showed those. Like I had to like literally be like eating for it or like buy the whole series after everybody's ever watched it. But like we didn't have that experience. So the thing is, well, An American Gods, I should point out, is actually not a Black. When I say it's the Blackest show, it talks about what's like, it's like this guy who's, I haven't even figured it out, because it starts with this guy writing a book, an older Black man writing a book, and it goes back and forth in time. And then like, it's kind of like like set in the time of now of what American Gods, like representing how television is a god that we worship.
See, what's funny is like
it's so
the commercials I saw basically kind of led me to believe it. Like I think it had that guy from Prison Break, the Spanish guy from Prison Break. So I had no idea that it was.
But like the dark skin, is he dark skinned?
No, he's kinda...
Okay, no. Like the main guy is a dark skinned Black guy who I was like, at first I was like, is he Latino? Is he?
Yes,
yeah.
I think it's a Latino act. I think it's a Latino actor. But
yeah.
Anyways.
Okay, yeah, but he's the main character, and like there's somebody who in the show is just like, are you Black? He's like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like he's not, and I like that it was just like, even if he does come out as being Latino, he's still identifying that he's still Black. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can be Latino and Black. They're not, what's it called? Mutually exclusive?
Exclusive, yes.
I was like, what are they? So
I got you.
Thanks, Simon. But it's just like that show is about his journey. Like it's coming from his perspective, and he has to deal with being Black, right? Like the thing that I love about it doesn't just like shade over the fact that he's Black, right? Like shows like, what's that Morris Chestnut or whatever show, Rosewood? Mm-hmm. Like he's just supposed to be like this really smart thing, which I understand, of him just being a doctor who specializes in bones or whatever, and he happens to be like super smart or whatever. Then he just happens to be Black, which is great.
Yeah.
But I'm just kind of like, really, like he never gets pulled over by the cops, like.
No, but yeah, it feels dishonest because that's not how it is. And like, I don't know if you guys have seen Insecure, but I think it's a perfect example of a show where she's living her life as a Black woman, and it's obviously a very big part of the show, but she's still just a regular human being. The guy, for God's sakes, works at Best Buy. Like, could you get any more relatable and regular? But it's still a part of the show, but it's not like, so it doesn't feel like they're deceiving us, you know, where she's living her life normally. She's still dealing with the...
Wait, you're like, something's happening with your mic.
Oh.
When you're talking, it's like...
now.
Yeah, that's better.
True. But yeah, like I think that's a great show that it doesn't, the race doesn't take over the whole show, but it's still an integral part. Obviously it's a big part of her life because she's a Black woman. So yeah, I don't know. We need more shows like that.
Shows like Atlanta as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes.
Where like, I mean, they're not sitting there talking about being Black all the time or whatever, but it does play into the show. And see, to me, like Atlanta is hilarious, but it's also very dry and very like, you know, a lot of things you have to be paying attention to actually see the joke. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, because I mean, you won't find a show like The Gilmore Girls which lasted like how long, right? It's just a drama show. It lasted like 9 seasons or something like that, but you won't find something like that about Black people. It has to be a comedy, or it has to be, about, oppression, or it has to be about being the unique Black person here, there, the other. It just can't be about Black people just living their lives.
Well, there's like the show that's trying to do that right now is Greenleaf. It's just like the main scene is that it's set in a church, and it's a church family. So all the father is like the main pastor of this huge mega church, and then all his kids are pastors too, and they're just like, it's the drama within that. And so to me, the reason why I do like that show, even though I'm not, everybody knows I'm not a church person, but I like the show in the that it talks about the positive, it talks about the negatives. It actually just talks about all aspects of the Black church without being like, hey, we're talking about Black churches. But it actually does address it. Yeah.
It's a great show. And I mean, it touches on all everyday issues also. Not particularly, I don't think they touch on racism. I haven't heard an episode about racism yet.
Everybody's Black.
Yeah, exactly. No, but you know what? They still, like, I mean, even shows like that, I mean, they still bring up, racism. I mean, even like A Different World had an episode on that, right?
They had a couple on that. But I think it comes down to, like, we just have to keep pushing. Because, like, I remember when Book of Negroes came out, that people were like, yay!
Awesome.
I love that book. I like the movie and all that stuff, but it's still about slavery. Like, it's
yeah. And honestly, I think the best example of this that I can think of right now is one of my friends who admittedly has a racist family member who she was discussing this with had mentioned that she didn't like Get Out, but she did like Hidden Figures. And it bothered me because Hidden Figures is still, it's a great movie. I liked it. It was inspirational, whatever. It's a Hollywood movie. I'm happy that it's now going to probably inspire a generation of young Black girls who will want to be scientists because they've seen it. There's a lot of positive things I could say about it. I personally enjoyed it, but it was still a movie that was easily digestible for white people because it was about the past. It was saying like, oh, look how far we've come. There's a white savior basically character in it who, in the end, the white people kind of still had redeeming qualities, and we could still forgive them by the end of the movie because they'd come around, which, I mean, I highly doubt at the time that was happening as often, but whatever. So yeah. And then I was like, okay, interesting that she, and my friend hadn't seen either of the movies. And I was just like, interesting how, of course, she wasn't going to like Get Out, but still Hidden Figures, big commercial success. And it's frustrating that people just want to people will like that movie because it was presenting racism as like existing in the past. And of course, Get Out is that's doing the opposite of that. And people don't want to be called out, again, the same outreach with Dear White People. It's like, we don't want to call out racism because we don't want to address it. And then we're just at square one. And I think there's just too many gatekeepers, but at the same time, with the success of Hidden Figures, with Moonlight winning, with all these things, like, it's showing Hollywood that these stories are profitable, which is why the change will occur, unfortunately. But at the same time, at least, hopefully, there is going to be a change. And I do think it's going to be because of money, because they're like, oh, Hidden Figures out of all the Oscar-nominated movies made the most money. It beat La La Land, it beat whatever, yada, yada. And they're going to be like, this is profitable. Same with Get Out. The fact that made that much money over that, they're going to be like, this is profitable. And that's what's going to shift, what I think gets put into theaters. But at the same time, it's because we are paying to see those movies. So we are we are forcing them, we're proving that there's a market for it, forcing them to make that change.
And we forget a lot of times how much power we actually have.
Right.
Like, I know that they, like, for, which movie was it? Nate Turner? No, Nate Turner.
Oh, yeah, it was
Birth
of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation. So the new Birth of a Nation.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's please clarify. The new Birth of a Nation, and how moviegoers, people were showing up at the theater to go and see it, and they were being told it was sold out. And so they'd buy tickets to see something else because it was just like, I'm going to the movie. I still want to see a movie. And then they get to the movie theater, and they go in, and they probably, like, I think the guy said he was early. And so he was like, yo, let me try to see if I could sneak in to Birth of a Nation that sold out. Like, maybe there's a seat that they, somebody went to the bathroom, I could sneak in. Opens the door, it's empty.
So hold on.
So what? The movie theater was just trying, like, literally, like, you wonder, it makes me wonder how high up that went to the point of who made that decision. Was that the movie theater's decision? Was that somebody else's decision that influenced the movie theater to be like, hey, let's make sure that this movie flops?
Yeah. I mean,
that's insidious.
I think that also had a lot to do with, like, the sexual assault allegations that came out around Nate Parker. So, I mean, but yeah, just that issue alone, like,
I don't think it had anything to do with that, because to be honest, like, yo, if you're white and you have all them sexual assault things, look at Donald Trump.
Oscar, like,
look at Donald Trump.
But that's not.
Just grab them and then, hey, look, he's president. Like, come on now.
What's dude's name here? The Senate guy that just resigned.
Who?
The guy on the
Wiener?
Marion? No. It's gonna drive me insane. Okay, so there was a black member of the Senate who had inappropriate relationship with a minor, and he just resigned, and he was citing, hey, this person got this person got this. This guy had sex with a minor and he didn't get kicked off. This is because I'm black. And I'm like, no, it's because you're a freaking creep.
Yeah.
And instead of pointing the finger, I was like, instead of being like, hey, yeah, this may have been brought to light because you're black, but at the end, so use that power to be like, hey, everybody else needs to come too.
Yeah. And I mean, I definitely do. Yeah. I definitely,
when they deflect it, because of, like, at the end of the day, you still did the dirt.
Yeah. I mean, I do find it frustrating that sexual assault allegations and accusations disproportionately affect Black people because, if we're going to compare Bill Cosby with Casey Affleck with, Woody Allen, like, there's a lot of successful white men who have continued to have careers, even though there's overwhelming evidence against them. So yeah, I don't think it's fair that, Black people are being, I would say when it's a Black person, it's worse. But I mean, yeah, like, you're still a abuser.
Still a creep, exactly.
You're going to have to deal with the consequences.
When I was a kid, I always used to look at this and I always see how they found a way to find something against every Black person that I ever saw. Like, even down to, like, when I was, I remember this in grade 5, I was looking at this. And when I first saw Michael Jordan, he has gambling problems. I'm sitting there like, every one of us, you got to find a way to basically to take us down a peg.
Look at Obama, okay? Honestly, the Obama thing is unbelievable to me. Can you imagine if the first Black president had 4 different wives and children from all different wives? Can you imagine? They already hated him because he was Black. Can you imagine if he had said and done or any of the things that Trump is doing now? Are you kidding me?
Even acted in the way that he said.
Yeah.
Even spoke the way that Trump speaks.
Even just pretended to know everything, which is what Trump does every day. People would have condemned Obama in a heartbeat.
He said, I have the best words.
Every time, I say that all the time because of you, Simon.
I mean, it's my favorite quote from him, but it's like,
just the worst.
Who says that?
I know. But the thing is, you know what? Okay, and I was like, Scandal actually just in one of the most recent episodes, Olivia Pope, who's like the main character for people who don't know, just is like, there's a couple of candidates who are left to be the president, right? And she just looks at the ex-chief of staff, and she starts laughing, and he's like hysterical laughing kind of crying. It's like he's like, what's so funny? Like, what are you even laughing at? And she's like, every single one of them is murderers. And she knows like real murderers, like they all have at least murdered one person, if not more. And she's like, so the president of the United States is going to be a murderer. And it's just kind of like,
well, I mean,
it points a little bit at reality. Like it's like Shonda Rhimes, like as much as Scandal is a fictional show, it's like totally just pointing figures at what is really happening. Like they had before Trump ran, they had Harlan, who was Trump. They had a character who was Trump, like in the show. So it's just interesting how like her saying that makes me actually sit back and be like, I wonder all the real dirt that all these people did to get where they.
Oh my God. They're all murderers. I fully believe that capitalism just like, you need to get money out of politics. All these people are being paid by large corporations to, they're all being influenced by outside sources. Are you kidding me? Do we think Trump actually cares about the interest of, the poor white people that voted for him? Of course not. Oh, sorry.
I know.
Mariah Carey, cue Mariah Carey. But yeah, like, no, of course he doesn't care about them. I accidentally pressed that.
Robert, I couldn't even look at Robert. Robert's face was like, no. Like you said cue Mariah Carey, and I was like, oh.
No, but wow. Okay. All right.
Anyways, poverty is
bravo on that one.
Yes, thank you. That was well done. That was well done. That was really well done.
Sorry. Continue.
Okay.
No, I mean, I was just gonna say they're all murderers. They're putting forth a health care bill that's denying a large portion of the country access to health care. A lot of people are gonna die. Why aren't we pointing at the fact that they're consciously they're connected to the pharmaceutical companies? Like, this isn't something that's like arbitrary. You can Google a senator and see who's funded their campaign.
That comes down to something. And I know this isn't really our topic of conversation, but
we've been all over the place.
Yeah, seriously.
In truth, like I look at this and like the whole reason to kind of get rid of Obamacare, which isn't really the real name of the thing, Affordable Health Care Act, is to basically eliminate any type of legacy that President Obama would carry forth. And they say it's going to cost $25 billion to do any plan that eliminates the Affordable Health Care Act, any plan. So, and that's an estimate, which we always know is always going to usually be at least a quarter of the cost of what the actual is going in. And then obviously it's still going to increase even higher. And the thought is you could modify what you have and make it better, but it's that you have to replace it. And with one of the premiums for your healthcare, everybody would have to pay something like $15,000 a year for their healthcare. This was the proposal in the last one that they were trying to rush through. $15,000 a year. So somebody that's getting paid like $28,000 a year, more than half of their check, more than half of their pay has to go just towards healthcare. And this is okay because these rich white people, they can deal with these things, right?
That is what's happening.
And is Trump the right person to be making these decisions? Like, I feel like he has no concept of money.
Well, I mean, he also said, I'm the best at healthcare. I know everything about healthcare. And then as soon as he had to start working on it, said, nobody knew healthcare could be so complicated. Everyone knew that. That's why it's such a big issue. And like, yes, you're right about the fact that all they're trying to do is undo Obama's legacy because he was Black, period. Point
right.
Blank. This healthcare plan that they've put forward, like, despite the fact that it's going to cost people a lot of money, it's going to take Americans who had health insurance, and it's going to take them off health insurance, 25 million people who might die. Human beings are going to town halls yelling at their senators saying this person will die if we can't pay for our health care. This is like a life and death human issue. But again, it's more important for the Republican Party to undo Obama's legacy in any way that they can. You know, I just heard the other day they're taking the name off, like Michelle Obama's name off of, you know, some sort of program that was like funding educational programs for young women and girls abroad, and they were getting rid of that. And everyone was like, how is this a partisan issue? Why are you doing this? Well, because it was Michelle Obama, literally. That's it.
They're trying to erase us.
You know what the funniest thing about
Like
this whole
they did
situation
before.
is? You know the idea of free healthcare is actually an American idea. It came from President Teddy Roosevelt and his whole caucus. And basically what ended up happening was when the American people said no to it, other governments of the world basically took their idea and they started using it through that. So it's probably one of the most American ideas you have. But they're saying it's un-American.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And then
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, it's all a part of the system that they've created. They've kept people uneducated. How have they done that? Well, let's see. Maybe because it's all connected, and people even in the States aren't getting access to a proper education. They're getting a biased, like, you know, whether the schools aren't funded or whether, you know, Betsy DeVos is in place now, who knows what she's going to do. She's already putting forth, like, you know, we need science to be taught. Like, these are things that I'm literally afraid are going to be like removed from the American education system, which I would already say is terrible. You know, you can't even go to school there without leaving with an unpayable amount of debt, because they don't value education. Why? Because they don't want people, the next generation of people, being smarter than them and then coming with our progressive ideas, because we've seen, hey, we're not going to be able to afford homes. Why? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Anyways, I'm just getting into a whole
rant away.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, like it is. It's just kind of like
connected.
It's all connected.
It's all connected and keeping the power within the same people.
Yep.
And not allowing anyone else to be able to like rise up in a system that is built against us. It's impossible.
And wrapping it all together is that if they keep perpetuating these images of us only being comedians or being, like,
best friends,
these things, they can basically put us in, criminals, basically they can put us in these boxes as Black people and then basically make it so that we can't actually really go anywhere. Like, it's the fact of when you go to work and they sit there and they tell you there's a dress code, but then, we have dress down Fridays, and this actually happened to me, where they're like, but don't wear your pants down below your waist. I'm sitting there like, I don't do that anyway.
Wow.
Right? So it's like I mean,
well,
this
the
is
fact
the
that
type
they
of thing
can,
that happens.
the fact that they put in their dress codes that dreadlocks are not allowed. It's like, who are you saying that to?
Exactly.
Right? Or you have to tell Black ladies they can't wear their natural hair.
Yeah. Oh, I just saw a new one today of this little girl who's been her parents were told that they need to straighten her hair, and her hair is like mine, literally like this.
So it's fantastic then.
It's
yes.
gorgeous.
Basically telling us, you can't exist the way that you are.
Yeah.
Period. And
assimilate.
Yeah.
Assimilate
And then,
to us.
yeah, and the media, is a huge part of it. It's like, no, I don't want to be, I'm so sick of the magical Black friend that's just there to like offer the white guy some advice. Like, even that to me is a harmful character. Like, stop, that is a trope. How many times? We're not only here to be supporting members of white people's stories and white people's lives and experiences. We would like to be the leading roles of our own, lives. We're part of a country that is supposedly diverse, and if we want to continue saying that about ourselves, then yes, we need to be seeing Black people with natural hair on a Canadian show. Yes, take the chance and showcase something that is different. Showcase us, being ourselves. And there will be a market for it because we can all relate to, yeah.
And we all have to support that. Like that's what it boils down to, right? Like if we have these new shows, right? Like if we have these new movies coming out, like we have to support it.
And
like,
they have to bring in Black people to make them. That is a key thing. I don't want to see a white family that was written by, a Black family that was just written by like a bunch of white guys, because guess what? It's probably not going to be that authentic, and it'll probably come through when the show comes out.
Yeah.
And anyways, I'll say this. I repeat what I said. Basically, being Black and proud is an act of revolution, and that's what it boils down to, as far as from what I'm seeing.
Yep. So, as we wrap up this portion, our good news for this week is our own Alicia Harris is creating her own project. Well, she's done it before. It's not new.
Well,
she has a new project. Please tell us about your company, Pick Sisters. And is the movie Pick Sisters
it's just called Pick?
It's called Pick, right? So her movie's called Pick, and I'm gonna let her tell it because
so it's a movie about a young girl who wears her afro to school and has to deal with racism and microaggressions. It's very much set in Canada. It's referencing my own childhood, but it's also referencing a lot of current news stories like that we just explained. Now that I'm looking for it, I see a new one every day. Like last week, Black girls banned from prom from wearing braids. A little Black girl wears her afro, this, that, whatever. It's like, it's just frustrating because, it obviously comes from ignorance. But yeah, so, a prominent example of this was just a couple years ago, a young Black girl gets sent home from a Toronto school from wearing her afro. And this is the wrong message to be sending a young Black girl, that being her natural self, wearing her hair in her natural state is unacceptable. Mm-hmm. And who has made up that a natural afro is unacceptable, and where does that come from? Well, I'll tell you, dates back to slavery, where it was actually offensive if you were a Black woman to wear your afro and you had to cover your hair. And, if you were free at the time and you were a Black person, you most likely straightened your hair. And so if you were someone that was enslaved, you were also looking to the people who were free as, so they have straight hair too. Like, it's all this idea of assimilating and whitewashing ourselves and our culture to make somebody else more comfortable. I personally don't understand how somebody wearing a natural afro makes other people uncomfortable. But again, it's things that are different from you and things that you don't understand, I guess, make you feel uncomfortable. So anyways, the film itself, the aim of the film is to try to, one, you don't see the main character's face throughout the film. So it's basically, I would say, forcing the viewer to try to put themselves in her position and understand how she feels, because the film is showing her dealing with all these microaggressions, which are small slights and stuff, but it's the combination of her dealing with all these microaggressions from her teachers and her peers. And it's the fact that people just, I would say, especially in Canada, get away with making little comments that aren't, I guess, as condemnable because they're microaggressions and people don't realize what they're saying is ignorant and hurtful. But that impacts, obviously, a person who is a child trying to learn to love themselves just like everybody else, dealing with the same pressures of being a young girl and being insecure about their looks. But now we have this additional burden of feeling like we're not acceptable by wearing our natural hair.
I have a scene that I want to pitch to you if it's not already fully written. But I have a scene that,
honestly, I feel like this is going to be a feature one day. But yes, pitch it.
So this comes from a real life thing that happened to me in high school. I've told the others about this, but a girl tried to take a lighter to the back of my afro when I was in science class, and
and I'm not even surprised.
Her and her friend wanted to see what would happen to my hair if they tried to light it on fire. So yeah,
there is a form of something like that in there, but it's funny because literally I just verbatim wrote conversations that I've had, and it's funny because I had a table read, and a table read's always really interesting because you get obviously invite a bunch of diverse people to come to give me objective feedback. And there is a conversation in it where it's just basically an ignorant conversation. And someone was like, I don't believe that this 11-year-old white girl would say these comments or whatever. And I was like, well, my white boss had this conversation with me a couple years ago. So, you know, it's unbelievable to you because you haven't lived this life that this behavior is just expected. You know, I expect people to act this way towards me, and I'm preparing myself to, like, even with this film, every time I have to explain to somebody who is white, I always have to have an additional explanation that's attached because they won't understand what the issue is. I mean, mainly because it's not being talked about, or maybe because they're just so used to treating, I don't know.
It's the assimilate thing. It's because,
yes, exactly.
Because they think that everything that happens to us is exactly like what happens to them.
Yes.
And they don't see the fact that there's things that don't happen to them that do happen to us, like racial profiling, like you know, messing with our hair, like just little snide remarks, anything, like being stared at. And actually, that's something that I was actually thinking about the other day. Like, white people, Asian people, all these other cultures, they feel really comfortable just staring at people. But I think it actually goes back to slavery days and so on, where we weren't allowed to stare. We weren't allowed to stare at people. So, like, I mean, I was taught.
I think that's the main reason why it's weird for us.
Right.
It's because we were taught growing up.
Don't stare. Don't stare.
Like constantly, like my mother.
Well, and what is that? And it's kind of just like, well, don't piss people off, basically. Don't take up space. Don't make noise. Don't be seen.
Right.
Who gets told that, you know? Why did we grow up with that? And other people literally feel as bold as to reach out and to touch your hair without permission. Would you be reaching out to touch my face? Why would you think it's okay? I don't know you. Why would you think it's okay to touch my hair? And you know, it might seem like a small thing to a person that's doing it because they're just they've been literally trained to believe that they're entitled to reach their hand out to touch someone's hair without permission. Because they're different than you, because you're curious. Why is that enough to justify, you know? And I have no problem with people being curious about other people's hair or whatever. I don't know why that has to even be a part of any conversation. Like, can we just start getting to know people and like looking past it? But it is frustrating that it's like, why do you feel entitled to do that?
It's a big deal to us is because we've been conditioned to not do stuff like that.
Conditioned.
I
got it. See?
Oh my God, I can't. Get out. Get out. Don't make me mute you. No, but like we've gotten to the point of like, there's so many things that I didn't realize that I don't do because I'm Black.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand?
Right.
And like a lot of the things that piss me off, like taking off your shoes when you walk in someone else's house, it's a cultural thing, right? Like it's not disrespectful to most cultures, right? Or wearing your outside clothes inside the house. Right. Like there's certain things that are so cultural and so ingrained that it's that assimilation of us, that it's like it's trying to get us out of us. Like, let us touch your hair, let us wear our shoes in your house, you know what I mean, let me lie on your bed after I've been rolling around in the grass for an hour.
Let me put my dirty bag on your couch.
Thank you.
Right?
And you put on the floor in the TTC.
Right.
Well, and you know, but this is why we need shows. Like, this is why I'm making this movie. We need something that shows white people in this film. It's going to be undeniable how inappropriate it is to be saying these things to this girl, even though they're small comments. It's just going to be blatantly obvious how inappropriate it is. And honestly, we need people to explain this to them. Like, literally, my film, I say it like all the time. It's not even really for women of color. It is, in a way. I am, you know, showing an issue that we all have to deal with, but it is mostly to try to educate a group of people who are uneducated about Black women's hair and the way that their behavior affects us. Like, the film is exposing the ignorance that people have towards Black women and their hair. And I think that if that's not actually which is why, again, Dear White People is a great show too. And same with Get Out. It's like, we need to just be like showing, hey, like, this is what you guys do. I think Get Out's a perfect example because it's so extreme. And it's like, too extreme, I think, to the point where white people maybe don't even get that I was laughing from the beginning when the dad was racist, and it probably wasn't obvious to a lot of white people in the theater, and I knew it because it was like me, my sister, and my brother dying, and the white people around us like, oh, wonder, he seems like a nice guy, probably. And it's like, we need to be explicitly showing, and I think film is one of the best ways of doing that.
What I loved about Get Out too was that there was especially the part where they were showing all the white people like being so nice to the black guy. Yeah. It's like,
that was,
this is racist crap too.
To be honest, I didn't know any spoilers, and I thought the horror was going to come from the fact that they when she mentions, oh, by the way, my father's friends or whatever are all coming for the weekend and they're all white. I literally was like, oh my God, that's horrific. And the movie is going to be a horror film about all the awkward conversations he's going to be in, like all the horrific. I literally thought, because I was like, that is terrifying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's horror. It is pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually surprised that movie did so well, because not even just that, but like ratings. If you look at Rotten Tomatoes, that movie is one of the only movies that's rated 99%. Like good. Like I haven't seen that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Black excellence.
Right. And we'll end the good news on that. So what's coming up? So Alicia, I know you have auditions, casting call coming up.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're obviously trying to find, roles that I would say are a little bit more complicated. There's definitely a disproportionate amount of young Black actresses with natural hair for obvious reasons, because there's not necessarily been a lot of roles for those groups in the past. So we are looking to find our lead, especially who's a 10-year-old girl with an afro. Our breakdown is posted on our Facebook page, which is Pick 2017. So if anyone that's listening is interested, there's a variety of roles, but we're specifically, obviously, searching the hardest for the lead, which is a young Black girl with natural hair.
Thanks. I posted it in one of my Facebook groups. I didn't tag you in it. I should have tagged you in it, but I posted it in yesterday, so there was a lot of buzz about it.
I saw that.
Yeah.
The casting, like, I just have a quick question. Like, how do you find racist white people? Like you're casting somebody as the racist white person. Like, how do you go about that?
Honestly, I just was very careful with how I worded the description.
Because I'm sitting there like, somebody's like, I want to be that racist white guy.
You know who that is? That's, what's his name? Mike. He's in Bamboozled. He's in the New Edition movie. The white guy, that Michael whatever.
Rappaport.
Yes, Michael Rappaport, who I love, by the way. And he's in every Black movie. And he's just he's like, yeah, I'll play it. He's like, sometimes he's the down guy and other times he's the racist guy. But he's like, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, luckily people just want acting work, so I don't think it's even going to be an issue. But I was very careful. There is no description that says this is just a, racist person. It's, And this is the thing. The characters are not necessarily
racist.
A blatant racist. They're normal people who have biases that they've learned because of the society and system that they've grown up in, and they say these things. And it's funny because even when I shared my script with people, they were like, oh, I've actually said this, or I've actually done this. And I'm just like, yeah, normal people, you don't have to be a racist to be spewing off ignorant crap. Exactly. So yeah, the film is just basically educating, I would say, anyone that doesn't realize that microaggressions are real and they hurt. So be careful. Yeah.
Events. I have this is happening on Sunday. Hopefully we'll have the show posted by this, but Sunday, May 21st, Black-owned summer pop-up market is happening. So the Black-owned summer pop-up market features great products, services by Black-owned businesses. So there'll be music, performances, and giveaways. It's happening from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Daniel's Spectrum, which is 585 Dundas Street East, Toronto. Tickets are available on blackowned.eventbrite.ca. So I'll be there. So hopefully I'll see more people there. Yay.
I'll try to reach.
Let's roll, Robert. Yay. Devin and Robert on the road. Do you have an event, Rob?
No, actually, I was going to mention that event, but yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
I'm on this.
You're on this. Shoot. Actually, y'all missed out a good event. Dwayne Morgan's, what was it? Yeah, for members only. The erotica show.
Did you bring a date, Robert?
Did
you bring a date?
No. I left with one.
I was just going to say, yes. Okay, we'll talk after. So I'd like to thank everybody. Robert, do what you do, Robert.
All right. Well, first of all, I'd just like to show I'm wearing Ghetto Stories, which means getting higher education to teach others. T-shirt line this week. So shout out to Ghetto Stories. This was an interesting show. We went from talking about the Kardashians of Toronto all the way down to
the fake Kardashians.
The fake Kardashians of Toronto. They're about as real as the real Kardashians anyways. But anyways.
I know. Simon was drinking. Come on.
My bad.
But it was funny.
Yeah, so we started with this story. We went down to celebrities and even went down to politics. That's the Great Black North for you, ladies and gentlemen. So this was an amazing show. Thank you, Alicia, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
We loved it. You got to come back on, especially when the movie's out.
Absolutely.
Yes,
For sure. So anyways, I am your favorite author, Robert Mlolo, signing off.
I am Devin M.D. Jones, signing off.
I am Simon Martin, signing off.
Alicia, you got to sign off.
And I'm Alicia Harris, signing off. I don't know the systems.
Like, follow the line.
Sorry.
Thanks for another great episode.
Effect.
Yes.
This was great. All right, guys.
All right. See you on the next one.